Cricut Infusible Ink produces smooth, vibrant results, but you're not limited to the Cricut manufactured blanks. There are many blanks out there that are designed for sublimation, and Infusible Ink is sublimation for beginners on a budget. This is a beginner's guide to Infusible Ink, and we'll go through the whole process. I'm in New Mexico, and next month we have the largest annual balloon festival in the world. And to celebrate the season, I am going to show you the steps that I took to make this sequined pillowcase using 9 different sheets of Infusible Ink and 1 press. Welcome to Hank's Maker Mentor. Most of the hot air balloons in this design are from a set I purchased on designbundles.net. I am linking it below. It had 41 different elements, so I chose and uploaded just the balloons that I wanted to use. The yellow one is a free Cricut image. I have each of them set as different colors that are close to the colors of Infusible Ink that I want to use. Your Cricut has no idea if the material settings you selected match the actual material, so it doesn't matter what colors you select as long as you know which one you need to load into your machine to cut the correct design on the correct color. If you're using a design that has words or another element that needs to be oriented a certain way, be sure you mirror your design, or you can flip it horizontally here on your canvas. You are going to want to make sure you do a test cut before cutting your entire design. I'm using this star sliced out of a square as my test cut. I'm going to go ahead and click Make It. If you need to move any of the designs around based off of where you have material on your mat, this is the easiest time to do it. That should have everything where I need it. I'm using my Cricut Maker for this, but you can cut Infusible Ink on any of the Cricut machines. After it connects to your machine, you're going to select the Infusible Ink transfer sheet as your material. If it's not one here, you can go ahead and click Browse All Materials and select it. You want to make sure the material is inked side up and that your hands are clean, dry, and free from oils or lotions while you handle the Infusible Ink. I use the standard grip mat, and it lets you know that you need the fine point blade. I'm going to make sure it does my test cut first. To make sure your test cut worked correctly, you want to make sure that it cut through the inked portion, but not all the way through the liner. And that looks like it was perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting the other designs. After they're done cutting, you need to weed away the excess transfer sheet. It feels a lot like weeding cardstock. Cricut says to just use your fingers and avoid weeding tools of whatever sort because it can cause residual ink spots. So you'll want to roll the design to loosen it up. I generally kind of pop it at a seam to get it started and just pull off the excess. If your cut settings are correct and your design is fairly straightforward, this shouldn't be super difficult. And you just go through and you'll want to make sure you remove everything that you don't want as part of your design. Because these don't stick to the table like adhesive vinyl does, and they don't kind of curl and try and pull back on with static like heat transfer vinyl does, I frequently just kind of weed it onto my table and then sweep it into my trash can. And so you'll just do the same step on all of them. Just kind of roll it and then pop it to get it started. If you've got a more difficult design, sometimes it helps to not only roll back and forth, but also to roll diagonally as well. But it just depends on your design and what's easiest for you. There are times where it cuts through the liner on part of it, even if the rest of the places, the cut settings worked really well. That is fine as long as the pieces stay where you need them. You will want to make sure you're being a little bit more gentle in those areas. If you're unfamiliar with infusible ink, the colors you're seeing right now are going to be very different than the colors after you press it. It will be like the colors on the packaging, so you don't need to worry about that. This particular sequined pillowcase has a sublimation layer on the white side. So it's silver on one side, and then if you flip it, it's white. You want to make sure before you apply your design that all of them are facing the correct way. The ones on the edge don't really matter since the design isn't going all the way to the edge. I'm going to use this swatch of test fabric from one of the Infusible Ink packages, and I'm just going to wipe it down to make sure that any residue or anything is off of the pillowcase. I'm going to use my ruler to help me figure out where center is. Place this right here. I am going to use some heat resistant tape just because I've got quite a few going on and I want to make sure they stay in place. You do need to make sure that you don't have any tape or liner underneath where there is ink on one of them, because that will prevent it from transferring properly. And when you're lining things up, you do want to be careful that you're not lining them up based off of the grid line. You're lining them up based off of the actual design, because the grid lines are not going to be exactly centered on your project. I've got them all secured. So it's up to temperature. So I'm going to place my design, and it fits just perfectly that the seam shouldn't be a big issue. You do want to make sure that the zipper is out of the way. Infusible ink packages do come with butcher paper, but it's not big enough to use one piece to cover my whole design. So even though I've got some out, I am using my roll of butcher paper that I bought off of Amazon. I've linked it below in the comments along with everything else I'm using on this project. I just cut a piece and I'm gonna lay it over my design. And then this is a 60-second press at light pressure. It's pretty normal for your heat source to drop in temperature as it's working. The time and stuff is designed with that in mind. These are a warm peel, so I'm going to wait just a moment. I slid it around so that I'm pulling with the sequins and not against them. Unless you spend a ton of time readjusting them, the design will never be quite perfect after you flip them, but it still looks amazing. You can see a slight version of it as you flip it. It's great for people that need something to fidget with. With this design, you can play a memory game and flip them all and then try and remember which colors are where. During Balloon Fiesta, we can start with it like this, and then as we see the specific colors, we can mark them off to see if we can see all the different colors on the pillowcase. This project was so fun and easy to do. If you want to see more videos about infusible ink, go ahead and click on this playlist right here. And if you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe and the bell icon to be notified when I release new content every week. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye.